75, 345, 470, something like that, with the rest of the year, maybe 15 home runs, decent run production, something that would project to like 90 runs and 90 RBIs in a full season. I still think he's like a top 75 fantasy player. Hasn't played like it thus far, but I think it's a good time to get in on him.
Yeah, it's amazing that someone could strike out less than 10% of the time and be hitting 204. I mean, it just sounds impossible to me. 206 batting average on balls in play for Alex Bregman. That's not last. It just will not. And I think this Astros lineup is only going to get better, like you said, with Jose Altuve coming back. I think it's a good opportunity to buy low on multiple players in this lineup, if you can, for that matter. Up next for me.
Before you go into your next one, let me just say one other thing about Bregman.
Yeah.
And this will tie into some of my other guys. The idea is, well, can you buy low on him? He's hitting 204. That there's somebody in one of your leagues who has Alex Bregman is looking at 204 and driving them crazy. That is something, and this is going to be a consistent thread. If the back of the baseball card has something that scares your opponent, you can take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And especially it's gotten to the point, and I'm sure this has happened in a few leagues, where you're maybe benching Alex Bregman right now. If you feel like you have a hotter hitter, you pick someone up off waivers, it's almost certainly happening right now. So look for that manager in your league and try to pry him away. I think there's a decent chance you could pull it off.
Let me say one other thing, and then I'll give you back the floor. So how do you buy low on anybody, right? What I want you to do is I don't want you to go to the Alex Bregman manager or the Starling Marte manager and say, "Oh, I want Starling Marte. He stinks. What do you want for him?" Go. Let's say Marte, for example. Go to that manager. Maybe the guy in your league with Marte has a bunch of outfielders. Say to him, "Hey, you got some interesting outfielders. I could use an outfielder. How would you rank your outfielders?" This is one question I love to ask to kick off trade discussions. How would you rank your outfielders? Because if they give you a set of rankings that you can exploit, you can take advantage of, use them. If they give you a set of rankings you don't agree with, and you can disagree with them, you can negotiate off that, but let them try to show some of their hand. And asking for a ranking it's non-threatening. You're not putting them in any kind of vulnerable position. You're just trying to get some information out of them. Don't try to mention the player you want. I always think let the player come to, okay, you want to trade for Bregman. Say, I need some help at corner. And maybe the guy's thinking, "Oh yeah, I've been looking to get rid of Alex Bregman. I'll pawn him off on DJ or Scott, whatever." Let him come up with Bregman. Don't name the guy you want. Let the other player name the guy that you're actually trying to get.
Right, because as soon as you say it, then it's pretty obvious what's going on.
Right, for sure.
Especially with a buy low type of player. So, and again, we're anticipating that all of our listeners and viewers are very, very intelligent because they're watching and listening to this show. So,
for sure.
Of course. So next up for me is someone who we had high expectations for coming into the year and has actually delivered from a counting stat perspective, but otherwise kind of ugly and looks like a step back, and that's Bobby Witt Jr. So going into play on Monday, Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting 233 with a 271 on base percentage. Like I said, those counting stats are there. 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, 12 stolen bases, 26 runs scored over 41 games, gets the volume at the top of the Royals lineup. But from the outside looking in, you could look at him and say, man, like he's taking a step back. 39 strikeouts against 9 walks. Last year he had 135 strikeouts against 30 walks. So the flawed approach. But with Bobby Witt Jr., the expected batting average so far is actually 260, expected slug 491, and then you see he's hitting the ball harder than he did last year. In fact, 91st percentile in barrel percentage. So you're seeing a player making a lot harder contact, has a lower batting average than he had last year, but that's just a surface stat. Really, what he's done to this point is equal, if not better, than what he did last year in terms of quality of contact. And he's still the fastest player in all of baseball. So the steals will prop you up no matter what. And I expect him to steal a lot more bases going forward, assuming he gets on base more. He's actually a player that I put some money down on to lead the majors in stolen bases this year. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but 12 is a pretty decent starting point here. So I would go for Witt. It has the multi-position eligibility. I think there's a chance you could pry him away, especially with from a manager who maybe has a lot of speed. maybe you could pry him away there.
Yeah, I like it. I feel like 233, 271, 442 is about the lowest. That's the worst that he's going to do if he's healthy.
Yeah.
And I love sometimes stolen bases, the best place to get steals are from a team that's not contending, that just kind of has a DGAF YOLO approach on the bases. And I feel like the Royals are one of those teams. In fact, it feels like whenever Witt steals a base, they come in pairs. He's like multiple games this year where he's stolen more than one base. And
Yeah.
even with that ugly average in OBP, the 7 home runs, the 12 stolen bases, that still probably makes him like a top 50 fantasy hitter. I thought it was misguided when he percolated into the first round of some leagues because that priced in improvement. But I get it. I understand it. Obviously, he's a pedigree guy. His father was a Major League Baseball player. He had a long career as a starting pitcher. Ironically, his father walked the ballpark. The big thing with Bobby Witt Sr., he had unbelievable stuff, but he walked a lot of guys. And, I
Mhm.
guess that walk gene hasn't passed over to his son. But Bobby Witt Jr. still just in his age 23 season. And it's a case of why might you be able to get buy low on him because maybe the other manager paid a first round pick or paid an early second round pick. He thought he was getting a different player, maybe a little bit frustrated. I feel like Witt the rest of the way, probably going to hit 260, 265. As you mentioned, he's got that elite speed. Anytime he puts the ball in play, any ground ball to the infield, he has a chance to beat out if they don't field it cleanly and zip it to first base because this guy can fly. The home runs are he's still on pace to hit about 28 home runs. So I think it's probably you're seeing the low end of his range right now. I think it's hard to lose on a trade with Bobby Witt unless he gets hurt. I think it's a good time to get in on him.